it's Mrs. Harp again, back to play, this time, the trombone. It's kind of a bigger instrument, so it is hard to fit all into the camera. But when you're playing trombone, the main part you want to really focus on is the slide position, which is this guy that I'm pulling in and out. Okay, so the exercise that I want us to work on for Mr. McAllister's website is a page of patterns in concert C, okay? These patterns are specifically the scales. So we already did warm-ups, and warm-ups are great for warming up your body, like I mentioned last time. Scales are also another way that you could warm up your body, but also when you're looking at scales, you're looking at key signature. And key signature is basically what notes you're going to be playing in the pattern of scales, all right? So in this case, concert C means that there are no sharps or flats if you are a concert instrument, okay? If your instrument's in concert C. Trombone happens to be in concert C, so does flute. Flute's in concert C. Clarinet and trumpet are not in concert C, okay? So clarinet is actually concert B flat, and so is trumpet. So in their case, they're going to be looking at, I'm looking at your page right now to see, you're going to be playing a concert D major scale, which means that you have an F sharp and a C sharp. Okay, so just be aware when you look at the music. I'll send you the file. In this case, I pulled up the trombone part, as you can see here. And if you ever get confused, you're like, how do I know that's trombone? If you look in the upper left-hand side of the page, it will say trombone. Okay, so left says trombone, right says the composer, and then obviously the top tells you the name of the piece. All right, so this is a page of patterns in concert C major, okay? And you'll notice in that page I'm going to send you, there's also the conductor score, which is totally fine for you to look at. And you can see what instruments are in concert C and what instruments are not in concert C. So the flute and the trombone are in concert C. The oboe is in concert C, but we don't have any oboe players, and so is the bassoon. Clarinet and trumpet are in concert B flat, which means you're going to be playing a D major scale, which is going to have an F sharp and a C sharp. And then, oh, sorry, French horns are also in concert C, so you have no sharps or flats. So just be aware of that, and if it gets too confusing, you're like, I don't really understand what you're saying, Mrs. Harp. When you open up the page, skip past this stuff, scroll down until you get to a page that looks like this, and then look in the corner for your instrument's name, all right? And then that will get you onto what you need to do. Okay, today I chose to play trombone for two reasons. I hadn't played it in a while, and I'm not like great on trombone because I don't really practice it. So what I was thinking was we should do this page of patterns for a couple weeks, okay? This is our first week. So first week we're testing it out and we're seeing how it's gonna go. So what I want you to do is you're going to either open up your band book if you have it, or if you don't have a band book and you're trying an instrument for the first time, you wanna pull up online a fingering chart. Okay, the fingering chart tells you all the different options of finger patterns on your instrument. Okay, and in this case, because trombone doesn't have finger patterns, it actually has slide positions. That's what you see on this page, slide positions. So what I did was I printed up a page of patterns, which, like I just said, I'm going to send to you. So here's my page of patterns, and I did not look at the full page. All I looked at was the first two lines, just these, 1, 2. That's all I looked at. And then I pulled up my fingering chart and I decided to write in the finger patterns, or slide patterns in this case, in my music. Okay? Now, there is nothing wrong with writing fingering into your music. The only reason why teachers, music teachers tend to have an issue with that is if the child starts writing in fingering for every single note every single time they read music. You don't want to do that, okay? So this is how you're going to do it the correct way. If you have an issue with your fingering, you're going to go ahead and pull up your fingering chart and write in your finger patterns, just like I did here, okay? And notice if you have more than one option for a finger pattern, like here, I circled the one that I ended up using that was best, okay? And it really depends on what note comes before and what note comes after. So in this case, I ended up doing the 1 because it was easier for me to get to the 4. And from 2, it was easier to get to 1 instead of getting to 6. So that's why I chose the 1 for my trombone friends. Obviously, if you don't play trombone, then you're going to have a different finger pattern. So again, I only did that for the first 2 lines. What I was thinking was, I'm going to challenge myself, and I'm going to be practicing this trombone this week. And I'm going to see if I could get to a point where I don't need to write the fingering down. So the first 2 lines, fine, fingering's written down. But when I get to the next 2 lines, I'm going to write less fingering. And then by the time I get to the bottom, I'm going to not have any fingering written down. Now, because these are scales and it's just the C major scale, it's the same notes that we're practicing over and over and over. So you can see why writing the fingering in the first 2 lines makes sense, especially if I'm learning the note for the first time. But if it's the same note patterns over and over, then we really don't need to write fingering for those same notes that you're playing over and over. So that's why I'm saying write it for the first 2 lines. Do not continue writing it as you go further along. Okay, for the first 2 lines, the pattern that we are looking at is quarter note, 8th note, 16th note. So let me show you what I mean. These notes with stems are called quarter notes. They are worth 1 count. You can see here in the time signature it says 4/4. That means you need to have 4 beats in a measure. So you can see we have 4 quarter notes in a measure. 4 quarter notes in a measure. This next group is 8th notes. They are worth half of 1 count. So if I put these 2 together, this would be 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and, okay? And then this last group, these are 16th notes. We haven't looked at a lot of 16th notes in band, so for some of you this might be brand new. 16th notes means that you can fit 4 16th notes into 1 count, okay? So that's a lot of 16th notes. So this group right here, this all equals 1. This all equals 2. And then we have a half note. That equals 3, 4. Now, I wrote this out in a way that I thought might make a little more sense. Oh, let me see if I could get it where we could zoom in. Oh, there we go. Okay, it likes this side. Okay, so you can see here, uh-oh, it's getting blurry again. Okay, you can see here, here's my beat 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the quarter note, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here's the 8th notes. And I wrote in the counts, just waiting for it to get unblurry. There we go. I wrote in the counts 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then the 16th notes, the way we count that is 1 E and 2 E and then on the half note I wrote 3, 4. Okay, so take a good look at this notepad. Copy it down on a piece of paper. So then when you're reading your notes, you understand how to count your notes. Okay, because music's also about counting. It's about reading notes. It's about counting notes, okay? So make sure you write this down. Pause the video, write it down.
Write that down, write that down!
Okay, I hope that helps. Okay, so once you get your note fingering written down on the page, you figure out how to count the notes. The next step is playing the notes. What I did today was I didn't even worry about the note pattern to start with. I just worried about the notes and actually getting the right sound. You might say, well, how am I supposed to know how it's supposed to sound? I'm going to attach a video. Unfortunately, Mr. McAllister didn't do a video for C major, just C major. But he did do a video with scales, which included C major. So I'm going to attach the video. The video is going to start with a C major scale. And then all the scales after that are not C major. So just pause it after the C major scale. So listen, here's how it sounds. Okay, that's it. Da 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 da. All right, so for us, since I'm trombone, that's going to be C, D, E, F, G. Now, the example we have doesn't go up high until the second line. Okay, so it's just C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, and then it goes quicker. C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, and then it goes even faster. C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C. Okay? So the important thing there, if you play flute or clarinet, and you're like, I'm not going to sound exactly like trombone, you want your notes to sound like this. Da, 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 da. Da 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 da. Okay, that's what you want it to sound like. And then once you get that sound in your head, then you're gonna match the note name. So in our case for trombone, C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C. And that's the whole thing for the top line. Okay. Now trombone, sometimes because we have this slide, you have to pull the slide around a little bit before you get the right sound of the note, because you might have it too low or too high and it might spill into a different note. So trombone friends, and trumpet, this kind of applies to you too, because you have multiple fingerings for your 3 valves. So you might need to sit on that note for a second, make sure it matches this sound. That's your C. See, that didn't match, it sounded fuzzy. So if that happens, I'm lowering just a little bit. There it is. That was the perfect sound, okay? So trombones, trumpets, if you have to move your lips a little bit, or in this case, move your slide a little bit, that's okay till you get the C sound. Okay, so here's the C. Okay, that was it. The C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D. That was it. So now at this point, I'm going to play it with the 8th notes, okay? So let's do quarter notes again, and then you're going to hear me do 8th notes. So it'll be quarter, and then a little bit quicker for 8th note. And then the last one is the 16th note. So I'm going to play all 3, quarter, 8th, and then 16th. And you should hear me playing the same thing, but going a little bit quicker, a little bit quicker, and a little bit quicker. All right, so here we go. Here's the whole top line. And honestly, I don't start until I get that first note sounding like it's supposed to. So just know in your brain, if the first note doesn't sound right, sit with that for a little bit. Mess around with the instrument, move the slide up and down, move your lips a little bit. don't start playing this scale until you know the first note sounds exactly like do. If it doesn't sound like that, you don't have the right note and you can't start, okay? So here I go. I'm going to fuss around with it, and then once I get the right sound, I'll start the first line. Okay, that is the top line of a page of patterns. Now, I told you I did the top line and the second line. The second line is basically the same thing as the top line, except for instead of stopping on 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth note, it goes all the way up from C, low C, to high C, okay? And they wrote this in eighth notes. I honestly didn't start off doing it in eighth notes. I just stuck with the note and then moved on and then moved on when I felt like I was ready. Because again, like I said, if you're not hearing the note in your head and if it's not coming out correctly, there's no point in trying to play the whole pattern. You don't even have the note yet, okay? So watch, this is what I mean. I'm not even gonna play the pattern. I'm not gonna play like the eighth notes and the 16th notes. I'm just gonna play the notes and make sure I have the scale. So here's the 6. Okay, and you heard the instrument finding back on me on some of those, so that means that my slide wasn't totally in the right position, and you might have noticed that I kind of would adjust a little bit until the note sounded nice and clear. So that's what I recommend to do on line 1, just like you did on line, that's what I recommend you do on line 2, just like you did on line 1, okay? It's okay to sit on that note and don't move until you feel like the note is correctly being played. The reason why that's so important is because the more you practice, the more you're cementing the fingering and the positions in your brain. And if you keep practicing it the wrong way, you're gonna get the wrong position or the wrong fingering or even the wrong sound in your head, and you don't wanna do that, okay? So again, this is what line 2 sounds like, just with the C major scale correct notes. Once you have that down, then you could try playing it quicker and play it with the 8th note pattern and then play it with the 16th note pattern. Okay, that's all I'm doing with a page of patterns. I'm just working on line 1 and line 2, okay? So, and that's all before marker number 9. So I'm just doing line 1, line 2, and then you can see here's measure 9. I'm not going on, okay? I'm just doing the top line and the second line. If you feel like you can play the top line and the second line correctly with the correct note patterns, then feel free to move on to measure 9. Measure 9 is still using the C major scale, but now you can see they're bouncing around on the notes. They're not just playing C, D, E, F, G. They're bouncing around and going, you know, C, D, E, C, D, E, F, D, E, F, G, E. So they're bouncing around, okay? So feel free to do that. Okay, I hope this helps. I would also say look on YouTube, because I pulled up a video with a trombone player and I just typed in concert C major scale, and that just popped up on YouTube, and then I was able to hear him play, and then I just copied what he did with my notes, okay? So I would definitely recommend doing that. Type in concert C major scale for clarinet, or concert C major scale for trombone. And you know what? Also, since I just talked about clarinet, that is going to be in concert D, or not really concert D. It'll be in D major for you. So just know, clarinet players, when you type this in, you could type in concert C scale for clarinet. And it should give you the correct notes for you guys, which would be starting on D. If it doesn't, then just type in D scale, okay? And remember, if you're not sure what the scale is, all you have to do is look at what your first note is on the conductor score, okay? So you'll see here on flute, they're starting on C. On oboe, they're starting on C, okay? But if you scroll on down to clarinet, they're starting on D, okay? So just look at the first note of what you have in the music, and that's actually the scale that you're playing when you're looking up scales online. All right, if you have any questions, please, please, please send me those questions. I'll put a Contact Mrs. Hart button at the bottom of this, so then you can ask me any questions that you have. Always, always, always send me a video of you playing. I love hearing you guys play, and I miss seeing you all. So please do send me a video of you playing. It would also help me hear where you are with this practice, and if there's anything I can help you with, it just helps me to hear you. Okay, till next time, have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you guys later. Bye.